Are you a parent or going to become a parent? And you're starting to think about the day when your kids are grown, maybe 18, 21, they move out of the house, and that's when your parenting job is done. Well, I have a surprise for you. A parent's job is never done. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this episode. My wife, Nicole, joins me, and we talk about how our parenting has evolved as our kids are growing older. I'm Larry Cornett, and this is Invincible Life. This is issue 102, A Parent's Job is Never Done. If you go to newsletter.invinciblelife.me, you can subscribe and follow along with the newsletters that are associated with this podcast. And usually I have links and stuff like that are pretty hard to do in a podcast, but pretty easy to do online, so you can do that. So my youngest child recently turned 21. That means we're all done with parenting, right? Completely done. It seems like there are some differing points of view on what parenting looks like after your kids, quote, grow up. So when the kids hit 18 or hit 21, move out of the house, some people feel like they're all done and they're like, have a nice life, check in every once in a while, we'll see how it goes. And then other parents are much more involved in their kids' lives, even as they become adults. You can guess where we fall on that spectrum, but that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. So my wife, Nicole, is here with me again today. Welcome, Nicole.
Hello.
I think we both have friends and some mutual friends and acquaintances that we know that look at the parenting thing from very different perspectives. We have some that are very involved. We have some that are pretty hands-off. And I was going to start with asking you, why do you think some parents feel like they're, quote, done when their kids leave the house?
I mean, probably one of the reasons is because parenting is hard. It's it's a hard job, and the idea that you can finish sounds very appealing when you're in the thick of it, right?
Sure. Okay.
And so I think that's why and it feels good to feel like you've accomplished something. Okay, there's an end. I think psychologically that's why some people believe that.
Yeah, I think I've seen some folks have a very narrow definition of parenting, that it's something you do with children who need a lot of hands-on attention and a lot of guidance, and you are the legal adult, they're not. And so once they become legal adults, you're like, okay, you've got to make all your own decisions, and you can make all your own decisions. So yeah, we're hands off at this point. We're done. And it does seem like different people have different kinds of relationships with their kids. And like I said, some are really hands off. Some cases, it's not the healthiest of relationships. And I've seen that, where the kids are more than happy to move out, and they're like, I'm never going to see you again. I'm out. I'm out of here. And the parents, likewise, kind of vice versa. They're like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with you. They had kind of a rough set of teen years when their kids were,
which is very, very common, right?
Yeah.
To make that transition a little bit easier, they make it difficult.
Yeah, there is some of that. I mean, all of our kids kind of went through little phases here and there where they were butting heads with me or butting heads with you, and distancing themselves, trying to make their own decisions and not have us as involved and make life challenging.
I believe there's a term for that, though, too. Like, I think it's called soiling the nest or something.
Yeah, sure. I think I've heard that.
It's very developmentally appropriate for young people to be difficult and to make it easier, because, I mean, things are changing so drastically, and if everything was perfect and wonderful.
Right.
Why would you want that to end?
They'd never leave.
Yeah.
They'd never leave. Yeah, I've heard that, and I've heard sharpening their teeth on their parents' bones.
Okay, I haven't heard that one.
It's interesting because in some cases, and with this economy, and especially in California, a lot of kids are moving back home, and so hopefully they've maintained a decent relationship if they're going to stay under the same roof. So I think it could be challenging if you don't do that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of our experience with it and how parenting has evolved as our kids have gone through different phases and grown older, from littles to kind of preteens, teens, and now they're all in their 20s. How have you seen it evolve? Because you've been much more close to them. So my wife homeschooled the kids. We talked about that in a previous episode. If you go to newsletter.invinciblelife.me, we talk a lot about the myths of homeschooling. So Nicole spent a lot of time with the kids, and I was gone a lot. I worked in tech in Silicon Valley, and so I ended up working crazy hours, 10, 12-hour days, and traveling for work. And so she was deep in it. So you've seen it a lot more closely than I have.
Well, I mean, it just has changed drastically. I mean, when children are small, it's really all about caring, like hands-on, keeping them alive, making sure that they have enough to eat, the right things to eat, that they don't hurt themselves physically.
Or hurt each other.
It's very cleaning them, I mean, it's kind of just
yes.
just a very hands-on kind of thing. And, teaching through modeling and other ways how to be decent human beings to each other, how to just live day to day. And it's not, I mean, it is hard, but it's not intellectually hard. It's just constant, small labor kind of things.
And a lot of lack of sleep.
Oh, absolutely. And then as they grow, the problems become more difficult, more complicated. When the kids were small, I could solve most of their problems very easily with, a hug, something to eat, a distraction.
I miss those days.
A distraction of some sort. And as they got older and are experiencing the challenges that life as a young adult or an adult or, a middle schooler, the challenges that come, it's just harder, and you have to think more carefully about how to navigate these things, and it becomes more of a talking kind of thing rather than, picking them up and moving them somewhere to do something or wiping their face, It's just more complicated.
Yeah. I know we've talked about this, that it's funny when people say, "Oh, your kids are older now. Must be nice to be done with that. Must be a lot easier." Because we have some younger friends that are just getting started, and they have babies or toddlers or what have you, and as Nicole said, it's different. It's very involved and very physical, and there's very little sleep, and you feel like it's going to last forever. And so you look at people with older kids, and you're like, oh, this must be easy.
It's just a different kind of hard.
It's
different kind of hard.
Easier. It's different. It's a different kind of hard. Because when they're little, you have so much control over the environment and everything that's going on. So you can do a lot to control what's potentially hurting them, remove that, and make life better. You can protect them. And then they grow up, And so for those of you listening that your kids haven't left the house yet, you have littles and you're thinking it's going to be a lot easier. In many ways, it's harder and more challenging and more frightening when your kids are in their 20s and thousands of miles away. Because stuff doesn't stop. We've had our kids be really sick while they were in Africa or while they're in Alaska or New York. And you just want to be there. You want to be there to take care of them, and you can't. And you have to talk through it remotely. You have to text them and call them.
But luckily we were able at one point to DoorDash a thermometer and cold medicine and some Gatorade. It's like we're spoiled that we can do that. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, we've continued to be, pretty involved. It is a different relationship. So I know, I'd mentioned some people distance themselves entirely. So their kids are out, and I've watched them kind of revert to being party animals. And so they're in their 50s, 60s, some in their 70s. And they're dancing and they're going out and they're partying, they're drinking and they're traveling and they're just having a grand old time, so it's a big kind of reversion to maybe what they were like in their early 20s. I don't know. And then there's other folks that are still involved, but their kids have become their friends, which is cool. I mean, that does happen. If you have a good relationship, your relationship matures and you become more equal. They're teaching you stuff, it's not so much you teaching them everything. And they do. Our kids teach us stuff all the time. And we do a lot together. We go hiking together. We go on trips together. We go out to have dinner together. We do all kinds of stuff. And so there is this friendship that happens that is a more mature friendship. And some people have that. So their kids are just, kind of their friends. We're, I think, a little involved still with some other stuff. So I know we have, and Nicole in particular has worked really hard with the kids on moving, like packing up their apartments, moving cross country, like flying. And people are like, "You're doing what?" Just like in a moment's notice saying, "You need help? Okay, I'm going to fly. I'm going to help you pack up and I'll drive back with you. I'll help you drive." Because it's a long drive cross country. Or even through California, and there's been times that you've helped the kids pack and move and clean up their apartments.
But it was, I mean, the kind of the way that you're making it sound as if, I'm doing something for them. And I mean, to some extent I am, but it's just a fantastic opportunity for me to spend time with them, which gets, as they grow, that time gets less. It just happens, as they develop their own circle and at some point it's going to be their own family that's separate from ours.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I just feel lucky that I get to do that, and that they welcome it and want it, that they want to spend that extra time with me, that road trip or whatever. I'm very lucky.
Yeah. I mean, matter of fact, tomorrow I'm flying back to Alaska. We were just there like 3 weeks ago. We were visiting. All of us were there, all three of the children, and we were there and we had a wonderful time. We hiked and we fished and we made food together and went out to eat, and it was great. I'm going back tomorrow. My daughter asked if I wanted to volunteer at her research station. She's works with NOAA. She's a marine research scientist, biological research scientist. And initially I was like, oh, wow, we just went. It's a long trip. I got work. And like Nicole just says, like, when do I get these opportunities as they're getting busier with their lives and I'm growing older and they're busy with their careers? And it's like, how often do you get to go spend, 2-3 weeks with your kid watching what they do for work and volunteering and helping? And it's, it's a gorgeous place. It's in Alaska. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. When am I going to get a chance to do this again? And I feel lucky. I feel lucky.
And a chance to get to see them be adults.
Be adults,
doing,
which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're definitely going through this period of transition. Like our oldest son just landed a great job. And he just got the job offer last week. Yeah, like it was only a few days ago. And it was kind of cool. I do career coaching as my business. So I do career coaching, leadership coaching. I help people with job searches and stuff like that. And so I got to actually work with my son on his job search and preparing for his interview, and use all the stuff I've been doing for 8 years to help my son. And it was kind of cool.
I think it was great for both of you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it worked. He interviewed really well, got the job offer. It's a tremendous offer. It's going to really increase his income. He's excited. He's thrilled. So I'm going to see him tomorrow. And so we get to see him kind of going into his career and getting his, I remember this age, getting your first real job with benefits and everything, and being able to be a part of that, which is nice. So, I mean, yes, we're friends with our kids, but we're still helping them when we can. We're offering
we still
what we
have,
can.
We still have stuff to offer because we've experienced things that they haven't experienced yet.
Yeah.
And I think you described it well when we were talking the other day, that it's shifting to more of a mentorship kind of thing, that we have experienced things that we can give them some knowledge of what's coming next and how to prepare for it, not telling them what to do like you do when you have younger children.
Right. It's not like that.
Not prescriptive, but just a sounding board, someone who cares about them, and they can bounce ideas off of. I think it's nice for them to have that.
Yeah, and we were talking about that, and I've talked about that with some other folks, and they're like, well, my friends are like that. And it's like, it's not the same. It's not the same. And it's great, and I'm glad some people have amazing friends, maybe even lifelong best friends. But a parent who loves a child, who really loves their children, will sacrifice everything for them. And you want the absolute best for them. There's no ulterior motive. You really are in their corner. And it's one of the few relationships in life where somebody purely wants the best for you.
Well, if it's a good relationship. I mean, you're speaking
Caveat,
from
good
a place.
Relationship.
Yeah. I mean, some people do not have that. But
which is sad. That makes me sad.
Yes. If they have good parents and if those people care about them. But yeah, sadly, some people don't have that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we learned this, shifting gears a little bit. Where did we learn this? Why do we feel like this is how you raise children? This is how it transitions into adulthood and then continues into a different kind of relationship. And I'd say we both had parents that were like that. Your parents were very close to you. I got a chance to be close with them. Very supportive, lots of wisdom and advice shared. My parents were sharing a lot of advice with me in my 20s and 30s and helping me a lot. I look back and it's like, I remember so many times that, my cars were, I did not have money when I was young. And Nicole knows what I was driving when she met me.
I do.
It was a long, long time until I had my first real job at Apple before we had a new car, before we had a real car we could count on. So my cars were always barely running and often broke down. And my dad would drop everything and drive 4 hours to give me their used car and say, hey, you can have our car. It's an extra car. We don't need it. And he drove it all the way down to college to give to me. And wow. And another time my car broke down and we had to put a new engine in it. And he called his brother, and he and my uncle and my cousin drove an engine down from another city and towed my car and had an engine put in while I was working. I couldn't leave work, the things they've done to help us. Our parents helped us when we moved into our first home. So when we bought our first home, we did not have a lot of money. This was in Texas. And so, yes, homes were a lot more affordable, but we also made very little money. I think, I don't know if I've shared this before, but I think I was making a whopping $14,000 a year. That's right. $14,000 a year. So guess what? It's kind of hard to buy a house.
But you had my big income at the time, too.
Your teaching income.
Yes.
So we were just
20,000.
rolling in it. But my parents, who also are not wealthy people, got some money together and gave us money for a down payment, a loan. And we said, we're going to pay you back. And we did. So I'm not telling everybody listening, sacrifice everything you got. Give up your retirement. You're going to be starving as you get older because you gave everything to your kids. This isn't The Giving Tree. Interesting book, lovely book, but sad. I'm not saying give up everything. They loaned us the money, and over years we paid it back. We made payments. But without that, we couldn't have bought our first house, and your parents bought us a washer and dryer.
Yeah, so we could stop going to the laundromat. That was amazing.
That first, those of you listening, I don't know, but that first time you get your own washer and dryer, you're like, whoo.
Oh, we hit the big time then. That was fantastic.
And your parents were always helping us and visiting us. Oh my gosh. They would drive like hundreds, thousands of miles to come visit us in Texas and visit us in California. And your mom came out when our babies were born to come stay with us and to help and babysit. And you and your mom had a really close relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as like talking, I think I went through a phase, maybe late college, where we weren't talking every day because I was just too busy. Yeah. But we still talked weekly. But then when we had our first child, I mean, I absolutely needed her, even though I was technically an adult, someone who had been through this pregnancy thing and someone who had been through birth and breastfeeding and, so many questions that I didn't even know that I had. And so we were talking multiple times a day, just, helping me through that challenging new mom phase.
Yeah, it was great to have her as this kind of trusted, wise person that had been through it many times, because you're so scared. I remember, like, is it normal that she's sweating this much? It's hot. Should she be sleeping this much? I was always the nervous one. Should we take her back to the hospital? I'm so worried. And a calm, older parent saying, this is normal. It's okay. Everything's okay. That is so invaluable because your friends don't know either. Our friends were just barely having their babies too.
Peers, yeah. People are usually friends with people who are peers, and so they are experiencing a lot of the same things, but they haven't been through it. They're not on the other side, which gives you just a very different picture.
Yeah.
When you're coming from the other side.
And I'd say you've carried that forward. I mean, we've carried that attitude forward. Like, we've helped our kids. There's always financial stuff when you're young. It's hard. It's hard when you're a young person just starting out because it's insane. Like, you go to get an apartment, at least in California, and you need first and last month's rent
and
deposit. And so you're needing to come up with several $1,000s that you don't have when you're a young kid.
Well, and sometimes it'll be something, say like a $800 car repair, which is not unheard of at all, right? More. That's just your basic car repair.
Yeah.
And that's a huge amount for a young person making minimum wage or, less if they're in school and not working full time and stuff like that. That's a lot of money. But it's like, we can swing that now. Pay us when you have the time, or a few years when you're making money. It's nice to be able to do that.
Yeah. And you're also really good. You talk with the kids a lot on the phone. I'm not as good about talking on the phone, and my kids know that, and my family, my parents know that. I'm kind of terrible about that. But you're always talking with the kids on the phone.
I do. Yeah. I talk to them very often. I mean, both ways, that I call them and they call me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When you do this well, people are surprised that our kids actually want to spend time with us and do things. They're like, don't they want to go on vacation or be with their friends? And they do stuff, yeah. But they do want to spend time with us. And they text us and say, hey, do you have time to talk tomorrow? And so they want to talk to us. They want to make time for that, which is pretty incredible. I mean, another way we've stayed in touch, I don't know if I've shared this before. So we group text. So we have a group text where we're all sharing stuff. But we also set up a group Discord. So we use Discord. The kids kind of introduced us to it. The boys were using it for playing video games because you can audio chat while you're playing a game with your friends. And then so I checked it out. I use it for my communities, so my career community and my solopreneur community. And so we have a family Discord where we can share vacation photos or recipes and stuff that we don't want to get lost in text, because text isn't perfect for that. So there's lots of ways I think that technology has made it easier to stay in touch with the kids. We track each other's location, and that's up to them. It's a weird thing, but it's kind of nice. And the kids check on us. They're like, hey, are you guys home from the airport yet? Are you back from your drive yet? When we go hiking, Nicole and I do every week. And so the kids are like making sure that we came back down from the mountain, because people get lost up there. Mm-hmm. They do. And things happen. You twist an ankle or break an ankle and nobody knows who's going to go looking for you. So it's kind of nice. We look out for each other. We do that all the time. So, yeah, I mean, I think the main thing we wanted to kind of share with this is that
you're never done.
You're never done. And that's okay. And that's a great thing. It's not like, oh no, I'm going to have to keep clothing and feeding my kids for the next 60 years. It's like, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's a maturing relationship. It's as Nicole said, a mentoring relationship. And I can tell you, I'm in my late 50s. And there are things I'm going through as I'm getting older that once again, it's like, is this normal? Am I supposed to feel like this? Does everybody feel like this? And the internet, Dr. Google can scare the heck out of you. And you're like, oh no, I'm dying. It's like, what's going on with me? And having your parent involved to say, oh yeah, that's part of getting older. That's normal. It's not fun, but it happens. And here's how you can kind of work through it or deal with it. And yeah, I'm the eldest in my family. Nicole's the eldest in her family. I'm trying to play that role for my siblings now, because I'm hitting things sooner, obviously, than they will. And so I'll have a doctor's appointment. I'll say, okay, here's what I heard. Here's what I discovered. And I'll text my siblings. We have a group text. I'm like, hey, as you're getting older, you may want to keep an eye on this. You might want to get this tested. You might want to do this to prevent this from happening, because who else is going to help you with that? I don't know. Anything else you wanted to share, Nicole? Any final thoughts on parenting as
the same one, that you're never done. And I think I will be a parent. Like, that will be a part of my identity, an important part of my identity until I die. And I think it just will look different. And I'm learning what that looks like as I go along.
Yeah, it's not a negative thing by any means. Like, oh, I'm never done parenting. It's like, it has kind of helped the whole empty nest thing I was struggling with a lot. Of like, well, now what? Mm-hmm. My purpose is over. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Yeah, I've got a business I'm working, and we do stuff together, but this huge thing that was a part of my life, being a parent, I'm done. So now what? But I'm learning I'm not done. It's just the nest is distributed now. They have their nest that we come visit too. So, yeah. It's good. All right. Well, as always, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, you want to continue this conversation, go to newsletter.invinciblelife.me. You can leave a comment. You can make suggestions for future shows that you'd like to see from us. And that's about it. Best of luck with parenting. Until next time, I wish you the best of luck with pursuing the life of your dreams so you can be happier, healthier, and more fulfilled.